Hello, and welcome to Get to Know Regional Directors, where we share the goals, ideas, and insights of SPE's Global Board of Directors. In this season, we sit down with regional directors from around the world to discuss their technical expertise, lessons learned, and advice for those looking to pursue a career in oil and gas. I'm your host, Ebun Adewole-Dickson. I'm joined today by Ogee Effiom, who is SPE's Regional Director for Africa and the Domestic Gas Business Opportunity Lead at Shell. Ogee is a powerhouse in the oil and gas industry, with an impressive career spanning over 22 years. With her extensive technical experience in upstream oil and gas, Ogee has managed offshore drilling operations, reserves estimation, field development, and execution in both Nigeria and the United States. As Shell's domestic gas business opportunity manager, Ogee drives the technical and commercial gas projects maturation to support Nigeria's gas utilization aspiration. She's also a key governance figure in risk management, stakeholder engagement, budget alignment, and ensures gas is delivered to domestic markets in an effective and efficient manner. In addition, Ogee has won numerous awards recognizing her achievements in the industry. She has been credited as one of the 100 most influential women in Africa's oil and gas industry, as well as the recipient of the International Professional Grid Award, the SPE Regional Service Award, the Shell Upstream Impact Award, and more. Ogee's contributions have been integral in shaping the industry and driving innovation and growth, making her one to follow as she continues her career journey. Thank you for joining us today, Ogee.
Thank you, Ebun. I'm so happy to be here finally.
I'd like you to take us back to the beginning. So, can you tell us what began your passion for oil and gas?
Interestingly, my passion for oil and gas started with my mother. When I was growing up as a young science student, I had, a lot of fancy ideas of what I wanted to study in the university. But she, from her own understanding and her own studies, because she also studied in university and she actually worked in the university system, she noticed that there was a trend in Nigeria towards the oil and gas industry. So she advised me to look more at an oil and gas career. And of course, initially, I wasn't too crazy about the idea. I had my own ideas of what I thought I wanted to study. And then the second point, inflection point for me came when I visited a friend of mine. Her cousin was also studying geology at the time. And he was drawing these beautiful topographic maps with all the directions. The north arrow was there, the different landscape was, and it was so beautiful. And he was talking with so much passion about geology and finding oil and looking at the subsurface and understanding the history of the earth and all of that. And I was completely sold. So once it came to time to apply for the university, I got in as a geology undergraduate, and that's how my passion for geology actually started, and the oil and gas industry as a result.
That's great. It's great to see how you were so influenced by those around you and were able to see the beauty in the industry. So, could you share with us more about your role as a domestic gas business opportunity lead at Shell? How has your vast experience in upstream oil and gas operations contributed to your decision making?
Decision making in the oil and gas industry is actually a skill. You you start off, and something called the decision quality analysis, which I'm not going to go into. It's an industry. It's something that anybody can look up. But my role in particular looks at the end-to-end integration of all the elements that make up domestic gas projects. So you start off with the technical issues, you look at the economic, the commercial, the organizational, and the political elements. And most of the time, you find out that these elements are intertwined between each other. Therefore, when you talk about decision making, you think about things like what is the value, what is the risk, what are we trying to do here, what is the end goal, and then you start from one point. You be able to look at the end of the process and see how all these elements tie together. So when you look at those risks, you're looking at both the positive risks and the negative risks, the upside risks and downside risks. And of course, when you look at the values, you're not only looking at the short-term values, but also the long-term values. You're also looking at the economic values. Things around safety and sustainability also become quite important when making these decisions. So in terms of my role, I look at what drives the business of domestic gas. What are the risks? What can we define upfront? and how do we drive ourselves to be able to produce this gas to the market and make sure that we get monetization for it. And of course, if situations change, we have to be able to pause and take stock of our strategy and look at whether the opportunity still makes sense from a business perspective. So that's how it works.
Thanks for sharing. I'm sure those that are looking to go into leadership positions will definitely take something from that, as that's a very critical skill when you get into these kind of roles. So, as the regional director for Africa with SPE, could you also share with us Nigeria's oil and gas impact across the globe?
Nigeria is just about the largest oil and gas producer in Africa. And the oil industry in Nigeria is really vibrant. There are thousands of people that work in the oil and gas industry. It fuels our growth, the economy of the nation. We've got offshore production, we've got onshore production, shallow water, we've got oil production, gas production, and so on. And we produce about 1.2 million barrels of oil um, per day. It's typically exported to Europe and other nations, other continents. The industry is critically important, not only for Nigeria, but also the industry is important for the rest of Africa as a whole, because it's an engine that serves to fuel our growth as Africans. So while it provides raw materials for us, it also provides things like electricity, it fuels our petrochemicals, fertilizers, and the entire value chain is extremely important to us as Africans. So that's the way. So if you're looking at how Nigeria influences um, policies and procedures in the rest of Africa, it is by virtue of the number of years. Nigeria has been an oil producing nation for decades. So it's a really important country when it comes to those aspects for the rest of Africa.
And a follow up to that, what would you say sets Nigeria's operations apart from its counterparts in countries like the US, Canada, or the Middle East?
The interesting thing about the oil and gas industry is that when you normalize for things like terrain and geology, maybe fluid chemistry, and maybe some local nuances, the nuts and bolts of oil production are typically the same. They're quite similar, actually. And that's why people in the oil and gas industry are highly mobile, because your skills are transferable globally. So, with respect to the operations you have in Nigeria, they are similar to the ones you would have in a similar terrain, in a similar basin elsewhere.
Thank you for that quick overview. So now I'd like to discuss your time with SPE and your history with SPE. So as director for the largest section in Africa, what goals has the Nigerian section accomplished during your tenure?
I'm really proud about the achievements that the sections in Africa have made. Many of them have been recognized with the highest honor, which is the Presidential Award for Sections. And typically, these are sections that are quite innovative and creative in terms of how we bring the mission and the vision of SPA to life in Africa. So, yes, I was the director for the Lagos section, which is the largest section in Africa. But as regional director for Africa, I have had the opportunity to really, really work with other sections in Africa, and it makes me so proud just how much they have been able to achieve in their time there. There are 5 sections in Nigeria. You've got the Abuja, the Benin, the Warri, the Lagos, and the Port Harcourt section. They are constantly driving that change and that knowledge sharing, the skills enhancement, networking, and amongst the members, and they support the local community through SB Cares initiatives, and that's something I really admire about them. It's very inspiring to see. Also, we've got the sections outside of Nigeria, sections like in Ghana, that are doing extremely well in their own space as well. And Ghana has said to pull other sections together. I'm seeing so much more going on in places like Angola, Namibia, Uganda, and so on and so forth. I'm really excited about the energy that these folks bring to this very vibrant and noteworthy collection of people.
Thank you for sharing. It's great to see SB's impact all across Africa and hopefully it continues to grow. So now with such a diverse board, could you tell us how cultural and societal differences across the sections affect global SB decisions?
The SP International Board is geographically diverse, and that is what underpins the strengths of the decisions that are made. Every opinion is driven by these local nuances, right? and we table them, we discuss them, we come to our agreements, and we come to decisions. The, the role of the board is really to take decisions in the best interest of all stakeholders globally. So yes, we take local nuances into consideration, but overall, it's for the best interest of our association for all our members. So we put things in place that everyone will be able to enjoy, even though we also take these local nuances into consideration.
Thank you for that. So, just last question here. With your tenure as regional director for Africa ending in 2024, what changes are you hoping to see or make during your remaining time as director?
I have three main drivers for my remaining time on the board. The first is to strengthen some of the sections that are struggling, and I intend to foster more collaboration amongst the sections in Africa. Second is to make sure that the programs are sustainable across Africa. There are things that can be rolled out in ways that meet the aspirations of our members. And of course, the last one is to make sure that all the good work that is done in Africa is visible on a global scale. I think it's important for members and volunteers to be recognized for their work, for their volunteerism, for the time they put in, for their time and their talent, um, as well as their technical competence. Those are the three things that I'm going to be focusing on in my remaining time on the board.
Well, we look forward to that. And I look forward to seeing all the decisions you make during your last year's tenure and seeing how much the Africa sections decide to grow. Ogee, thank you for joining us and sharing your insights and impressive background. Your technical experience and proven leadership skills have cemented your status as a top influencer in the oil and gas space and serve as inspiration for aspiring professionals in the field.
Thank you very much, Ebun. It was my pleasure.
To keep up with Ogee, you can follow her on LinkedIn, which we linked in the description. You can watch the Get to Know Regional Director series anytime on demand. Visit SPE's Energy Stream site at streaming.spe.org. I'm Ebun Adewole-Dickson, and we'll see you next time on Get to Know.